Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Devil's Den, where of course we look at some of what the horror genre has to offer. As you saw before, we have a list of different medals now, so be sure to keep that in mind at the end of each review.
Merry Christmas, ladies and gentlemen. I am so happy to finally have another episode in this series. My lord child, it has been too long since you posted any reviews. It is about time you uploaded something.
Well, what can I say? It's hard to upload anything with all the drama that goes on down here, you know, in hell.
Well, start searching it up already. You have lived here for months now.
Oh, so I'm supposed to be used to hellish screams, tortured souls, and the disrespectful drunk demons that roam here?
Do not over-exaggerate. Most of the demons down here are avoiding you, or having pleasant conversation with you.
Especially that Samuel over there.
Fuck you, stupid bitch.
Yeah, back at you, you fucking prick.
Darling, why are you not wearing the holiday apparel? You could have at least worn a hat.
Because my sweet, it would not be appropriate for an overload like me to look soft.
Oh come on, don't be a Scrooge, Satan. It's only Christmas. I'm sure the devil wearing a Santa Claus hat would actually be much more horrifying than anything.
Oh, just shut up and start the Christmas special.
Okay, fine, you stingy bastard. So in today's special episode, we are going to be reviewing multiple games, or I was until I started reviewing this game late, so unfortunately we'll have to talk about the other games later. So for right now, we're going to just start off with a list of the naughty games, and I'll show you the positives, of course. So for today, we are mostly going to be talking about Bendy, if not the whole video. But I will be talking about the other games later, as I said before. So just for now, just do it a Bendy and the Ink Machine review for today. So to cut to the chase, I just recently played Bendy in one whole day. Don't worry, the Let's Plays videos will be uploading as we speak, probably or maybe later, I don't know. I haven't really been able to upload them, but I will try to. Either way, we're going to start off talking about this game first before we talk about anything else.
Bendy was dreadful. A disappointment, to say the least. I cannot believe how terrible it was.
Okay, slow down now, cowboy. You know the Bendy fans are gonna come and start bitching at us like crazy.
And do you think I give a shit? I have waited a long time to play this game, and this is what people were raving about. No wonder the company fell apart after releasing this game. I can only imagine how terrible the fan base is.
Darling, please do not get the fans upset already. You know how they cannot listen to reason.
Alright, listen guys, for any Bendy fans out there watching this video, please be sure to hear us out as to why we didn't like the game. Listen, we're not here to be haters.
I am a complete hater. And fuck all the fans out there.
Well, except for this asshole, but just ignore him. He's always a moody ass bitch. Listen guys, before a bunch of crazy fans come here disliking the video simply because, you know, we're sitting up here giving negatives, guys listen, I hate having to give or talk shit about a game. You know, I would love to, live in a world where we could just talk positive about all the games we play, but it's just not realistic. But anyways, it's time we dive into Bendy and explain why it failed, for me as a gamer anyways, and why it is such a terrible game.
Bendy and the Ink Machine was released on February 10th, 2017 by developers Joey Studios and the Meatly Games Limited. Not sure if people know this or not, but the Meatly had opened up a company with someone named Mike or something.
I don't know, I forget, but to be honest, me and you both know that we didn't do our research upon this that much. Not that I really care to anyways, especially since I know the Bendy fans are gonna come and hunt us down and murder us with no sympathy.
I heard the drama about the Meatly's company laying off 50 people. That is really a shame. I only hope this is a learning lesson for these people in charge. You should never rush into things no matter the cost.
Well, you gotta understand, Dina, sometimes the ideal of success goes straight to people's heads. Anyways, from what I personally know, the Meatly has made a few games over the years. I know one game that I seen a long time ago, but I forget the name of it. However though, as of recently, Bendy has seen to become a huge well-known icon for many people. And everyone, and I mean everyone, just goes on raving about this game. It's hard to find anywhere that doesn't give this game a fucking score verdict that would suggest this game is nearly perfection, which is just a flat out lie. I'm sorry, but anybody who thinks this game is good is just delusional. Now don't worry, because before the diehard Bendy fans come rushing in to murder us all, I'm going to explain the ins and outs as to why this game just sucks.
It is really sad because the art style of the game is absolutely gorgeous. The game was supposed to be a dark survival horror with a classic 1930s vibe to it, but resulted in being a bland experience that did not deserve the attention it got.
I couldn't agree more, Dina. Hell, the fucking game was $20 on Steam. $20 for an entire experience of bland boredom. The only reason I brought it was because it was $3 on the Christmas sale on Steam. Alright, let's get this show on the road. So, because you guys have waited long enough for a review, let's just do it. The gameplay itself is extremely bare bones minimum. It relies on the same mechanics way too constantly and heavily. It's unchallenging and with no real punishment whatsoever. The controls are rather simple but are indeed functional. The style of the gameplay takes the stance of a first-person survival horror. I'm gonna be honest and say that I didn't have a lot of good things to say about the gameplay, but I'm gonna try to make use of some positives that I found were okay-ish.
Cannot say I blame ya. The only positive here was the ideal of it, and everything else after was shit.
I'll be honest though, there was a slight tinge of enjoyment in some areas. However, even when you do have some enjoyment in something, the game always seems to ruin it somehow, or it just doesn't last long enough to be enjoyed. To be honest, I'm not really sure what the most enjoyable part of the game was for me. I would probably say that the amusement park ride boss was kind of enjoyable, alongside with the stealth section with the camera monster, but most of the enjoyment, like I said, doesn't last too long anyways.
I wish they did more with the ink. It was the best part of the game. Do you not agree, little girl?
I don't know. I guess, honestly, they could have done a lot more with the things in the game besides just the ink, but seriously, the only good things about the gameplay is that it's functional and works properly. I'm sorry guys, but it's really hard to find any real positives about this game other than it being just, I don't know, good enough to explore the art style. I'd go as far as to say that the gameplay is only good on certain occasions, and even those occasions just really don't last long. Once you kind of like start playing the funnest part of the game, it doesn't take too long before it becomes boring.
Let me be clear when I say that this gameplay sucked for a lot of reasons. Everything about it failed at even being a game. Sure, it was functional, but it was extremely boring.
It had good intentions and ideals, though.
Yeah, well, just ideals and good intentions don't render a good experience for anyone, nor does it render a good game. Listen, there's a lot of cons I gotta get through, so let's just dive into why this gameplay failed, because I want to just get through this already. Firstly, I think it's safe to say this game really didn't offer that much, and no, fan people of this disappointment of a game, I don't care if the product came from a shit ton of love made by one person, or whatever the thousands of excuses you have, you know, over the top of the heads of you crazy ass motherfuckers. I mean, we all know you're just here to defend something that's not even that good. I mean, come on. So before you all get butthurt, just hear me out. The gameplay was barely even developed. The whole thing never offered anything other than being a repetitive chore to go through. It just always seemed to never be fun, because all you did was go around doing the same shit you've been doing since the very beginning of the first chapter. Walking around, looking for stuff to collect, just so you can progress, and the combat was just lackluster at best. The gameplay feels like it needs so much more development. It's just too damn simple for its own good, and that's not to say simplicity is bad or anything. In fact, simplicity is what creates complexity in the first place. However, in Bendy's case, the gameplay is just way too underdeveloped. A good example of this is, well, everything. I'm not against simple combat, but the combat needs some fine-tuning, because with regular enemies, for some reason, it's almost so damn hard to make contact with them. With your weapon, it's like you have to be so damn specific with it. Hell, you don't even get a block button for that matter either, so whenever you're fighting, just expect to always be beaten the shit out of. And it's just ridiculous. I honestly felt like Chapter 3 and 5 were the worst in my honest opinion, but feel free to disagree. Chapter 3 was really just do a whole bunch of lame-ass chores with Alice that really didn't make any sense. You were basically expected to go to different levels of floors and do stupid shit like break a bunch of Bendy cutouts or collect ink from these head-wobbling enemies. Like, Alice, why the fuck can't you just get a bucket of ink, off the fucking walls, or the river that flows underneath the bridge. It's never explained why and how the ink harms the normal looking characters, but we'll talk about that when we talk about the story.
What bothers me the most about the game is how it never has any real challenge. You can die and just come back to your progress without any repercussion. The game felt empty. Even the stealth sections were not interesting because they suffered from lack of punishment.
Agreed. Honestly, in Chapter 3's stealth section with the cameraman, basically it was every time I picked up a piece I needed, he would always come after you. The rhythm was like, pick up item, hide, wait, pick up item, hide, wait, and repeat the process anew. And in Chapter 5, you're left defenseless and expected to sneak past these regular enemies without being caught. And you want to know just how bad the design of this game is? Alright, it was so bad that I ended up saying fuck it to the stealth ideal and just ended up running past all of the enemies in there, just so I could get the ink from the fountain for the machine to make parts to open the door. And I kid you not, even after getting the ink from the fountain, I died. But guess what? When I came back, I still had the ink in my hand, and I was back at the place where I actually needed the machine. So I actually saved time by not having to run all the way back to the start just to use the machine. Talk about destroying every inch of immersion your game could offer and any real challenge to it.
And talk about destroying any real decency the game could have had.
And in that same chapter, Chapter 5 of course, you're expected to fight a horde of enemies alongside with a second version of Alice Angel and Boris. The whole thing just feels like it goes on for a fucking eternity. Like, just end already. And if that wasn't bad enough, the design, again, is fucking terrible. Most of the time I just hid in a corner, and whatever enemies that came at me, I would just deal with them right then and there. I died a few times, but like we've been saying, instead of the game punishing you after death, you'll just be sent back like nothing ever happened. Not to mention you can just, hide in these boxes where enemies can do absolutely nothing to you. Once you go in there, poof, everything goes back to normal. Like, it just really does kind of just is lame. Even the boss battles are very shallow. It's just like the gameplay is so fucking boringly bland. Like, I hate to sound like this, I really do, but it's just like, the overall experience of the gameplay didn't hold a candle to anything. I mean, for as slow as this game is going, and as freaking expensive as it is, I'd recommend playing Haiti for all that matters. And even that game had plenty of problems. Or hell, I recommend playing some point and click games, on some random flash sites like Newgrounds, or go play fucking Day Shift at Freddy's for all that cares. Or go play, I don't know, freaking anything besides this game.
The gameplay might have been good if the developer had more to it and changed the pacing. Hell, the whole thing had no main focus on anything but being an experience you would never remember.
Yep, and $20 down the drain for a game with no redeeming qualities in its gameplay. But I'm sure you're all saying, but Anissa, Bendy isn't about gameplay. It's about a fabulous, well-told story that is incredible. It drives people to engage in a wonderful, theorizing adventure that depicts the mystery of Bendy.
No, don't hand me that! Bullshit!
I'm sorry, but anyone who believes this bullshit is blowing smoke up the creator's ass. The story was complete dog shit. Now I know. You'll all be thinking I'm a crazy ass motherfucker who has no idea what I'm talking about. And you're probably ready to kill me and you probably think I'm over exaggerating. Please, don't kill me. But seriously, Bendy's story is just not good, and let me explain why. But before we do, let me list the pros, which are not that much, but I'll go over what I thought was at least enjoyable.
I find it hilarious how you list artistic ideals and styles positives, but did not list anything good of the story.
Well, what do you want me to say? I'm pretty sure the same people who are on the same boat as I am, who hated this game or just didn't like it, would probably feel the same way I do. I mean, the whole story sucked, didn't it? It just seemed like the only things that the game had going for it was the art style and the concept alone. Hell, Satan, I would go as far as to say that everyone, I mean everyone, just raved about Bendy simply because it had that 1930s theme to it.
Wait a minute, could it be the 1920s instead?
Or whatever the hell the era it was I mean, does it even really matter though? Either way, I will give credit where credit is due. The art style of the game is indeed gorgeous. I absolutely love the style of the game. It just looks so beautiful as you go through it. I'll admit the character designs aren't half bad either. In fact, they're very iconic to look at. I really love the design of Bendy for some odd reason. Something about these characters look very appealing to look at. It's quite nice actually.
My favorite part was the ink. I absolutely loved the ordeal of it. I only wish they did more with it. I also wished that we could have been transformed into a black and white cartoon world.
Right? That would have been so cool. It's just a shame that, it didn't happen. It's also a sad shame we didn't even get one single episode to watch of Bendy. $20 and you don't even get one silly episode to watch. What a damn shame. To be frank here, the only thing Bendy has going for him is the art style and ideals and concepts that really sold well with the audience. To sum it up best, it's basically a great ideal, but it was a terrible executed experience and game. Alright, listen, we got a lot to cover with the cons and whatnot, and I already know the Bendy fans are probably steaming in the comment sections as we speak. But let me just really get through this because we got a lot to talk about. The story is basically about a guy named Henry, which rhymes with Bendy by the way, who returns to an old studio he used to work with an old friend named Joey. Apparently, as you can already guess, things don't go well. Henry finds himself trapped within the walls of cursed ink that happens to have the ability to form or rather create useful weapons, parts, etc., even creating dangerous monsters that you'll be fighting from time to time. The entire story is extremely confusingly convoluted for no reason. Let me explain. Every character, and especially the main protagonist, is this lifeless, lame-ass Mr. Obvious that sounds like he doesn't even care about anything. I'm serious. It's like whoever voiced this main protagonist just sounds like they just gave up on life or something. Like they just didn't give a shit enough to show any real emotion.
Alright, Joey. I'm here. Let's see if we can find what you wanted me to see. I'm not getting out of here that easy. You need to open the door, but the lever is missing. Hey buddy, using that lever handle around? Or are you holding it hostage until I make you something to eat? I thought so. Let's see what we got.
God, like, the interaction is so fucking boring. I mean, you could argue that it's meant to be that way for the sake of style, but honestly, I feel like it just destroys the immersion a horror experience is supposed to have. Anyways, Henry, well, he doesn't really do anything nor react to anything that's important. I mean, he kind of does, but there are so many scenes in the game where the protagonist should be reacting and should be saying at least something. A good example of this is where you find a bunch of ink people who are crying and are looking miserable, and yet the protagonist never says anything. He doesn't even give a reaction. He doesn't sigh or anything. We just go through the gameplay without the protagonist saying anything. Then you meet a character named Boris, or should I say boring, because he is a complete lifeless machine. I was really expecting Boris to have that Goofy from Mickey Mouse vibe going for him, but instead you get a character who never ever talks, doesn't even give physical mannerisms that would be entertaining either. And the worst part of it all, the game actually tried to make you feel bad for this lifeless walking ink sack. Like, motherfucker, there is absolutely no reason to feel sorry for this character. If you thought Undertale was bad with its emotional appeal to characters you've only just met, well, it's even worse here. You're expected, or rather forced into this rescue mission to save Boris the boring ass wolf, who we clearly care oh so much about, only to find him as a boss battle that's slow and fucking lame. The game tries to ramp up the emotional value, but we all know how that turned out.
Nizza, you are forgetting the character that you met before Boris in Chapter 2.
Oh yeah, that's right, Sammy. My god, what a wasted, barely even in the game character.
My apologies if I am misunderstanding this character, but what to know was his purpose.
Better yet, why was he even in the game? He was barely, and I mean barely even in it. All he did was say a few unimportant lines that don't add any entertaining details into the story. And the second and last time, yes, he's only in the game twice. You have to fight him as this lame boss battle.
They might as well as never have designed him in the first place. I think they just put him in the game for the sake of having a crazy cultist person to justify the story.
But you know what, Dina? It's with everything in the story. We had Alice Angel, which was obvious that a woman named Susie or whatever her name was, became Alice Angel because she was, obsessed with the role of being Alice Angel so much that somehow she was able to become her. It's never explained how or why, but, she became Alice Angel, and that's why this Alice that you see here is crazy. But it's never explained why she is the Alice Angel or how she became her. But honestly though, I say that Alice was probably the best part and the worst. I say that the voice acting for her was the most enjoyable in the game, even though she can be annoying when she starts screeching her lungs out, and considering the fact that she never has much personality other than being a crazy bitch stitched together by ink and narcissistic shame, with a nice mix of LSD poisoning by the way too.
But what about the second Alice that killed her? Is it not explained where that one came from?
Dina, I have no idea. I'm not a fucking girl who knows the whole damn world. Look, nobody knows why this shit is the way it is. In fact, I gave up on Bendy by the end of chapter 4. I was already fed up with Bendy a little early on, but at that very moment, I don't know what it was, but just something about that very scene that just made me go. Well, we killed him. How sad? Alice, you bit. Oh shit. Well, that was traumatizing. What the fuck?
I was done after chapter 2.
But I was just done, yo. I was just really trying to give leniency to this game, but it just constantly kept straying away from the horror element. Look, I'm getting tired of talking about this game, and I can already tell Satan's been tired of this bullshit too, so let's just get this over with. I mean, Alice was just killed off way too soon, and we ended up having a second Alice Angel and another Boris the Boring, which is never explained why they're here. This new Alice is basically just some survivor-like character who seems to be confused about everything as well. She looks like a Walking Dead character, if you don't mind me saying that. She's supposed to be the good version of Alice, but I mean, does anybody even care at this moment? But honestly, I think the worst part about everything is the direction the game tried to take. In the beginning of chapter 1, the game seemed like it was trying to be a horror game with its one-time jump scare with the first time we met Bendy, making it seem like we were in the ride of our lives. However, as the chapters went on, it just seemed like the game just lost interest in whatever it was trying to do. I feel like the game just had no real specified theme going for it. I honestly feel like the biggest mistake of this game was that it tried way too hard to be mysteriously vague and meaningful, and the horror element in the whole chapters, it just got worse as you just went on. What I mean is that it just seems so odd how everything just happens with no explanation. There are so many unanswered questions that just keep on coming as you go. It's never explained why and how all this monstrosity happened. It's never explained why Henry came back. It's never explained how the characters we hear on the recordings become monsters. It's never explained how the company became such a cult and what powers were able to bring upon everything that just happened. And the list goes on and on with these questions. It's almost as if the people behind making the game just didn't give a shit about making a logical, well-told story. And it's not the first time on the Devil's Den we've come across some games that just didn't live up as being as good as we thought.
But Almeza, do not forget about the most important part about the game that was ruined.
And what is that?
Oh, you know. Bendy, the main character, who's the antagonist of the game.
Oh, that's right. I bet all you sad, miserable people have been wondering this entire time of me bashing this game what our beloved, most iconic character, Bendy, has to offer. I'm sure the fans in the comment section are telling you how wonderful he is, and how the reviews just glamorize such an amazing character.
I like that this game is very scary and I like scary stuff. I like Bendy because he's my favorite character and I like how you have to run away from him and different obstacles.
Bullshit!
Bendy sucked utter complete ass as a character, and he's supposed to be the freaking star in all this. I mean, the game is literally named after him, and yet, the entire, and I mean the entire fucking game, he is nothing but a walking zombie. All he does is, well, nothing much important but hide somewhere until it's convenient for him to come chase you whenever he feels like it's the time to do so. And when he does, the whole room becomes black and weird, and that's when you know you're supposed to hide and shit. But that's all he does. And when you finally get to the end of the game, which is such a disappointment, Bendy turns into this macho giant. So get this, the first phase of Bendy, he runs around like a retarded monkey on LSD because apparently he isn't able to just chase us properly. Instead, he'll run around into walls, disappearing into another one, and then into another one, and the process begins anew. I guess you're supposed to figure out a strategy, but for the love of me, I just could not find a way to figure out his running process. So I ended up dying constantly, but it's not all that bad because if you remember what I said before about the gameplay, you're not punished for anything, so you get to go back like nothing happened without losing any progress. Throughout the first phase, you have to flip switches in order to open the door into the next phase. The second and final phase is basically run away from Bendy and encourage him to break all 4 capsules to open the next door into a very confusing, very odd, very unfitting, and a very unnecessary ending. The ending of the game, just what were they thinking when they made it? Basically, you teleport into this disgusting looking house where Henry's old friend Joey lives in. When you meet him in the kitchen, he talks to Henry about Bendy in the studio. Look, I'll let the ending speak for itself.
The only important question is this. Who are we, Henry? I thought I knew who I was. But the success starved me. Nothing left but lines on a page. In the end, we followed 2 different roads of our own making. You, a lovely family. Me, a crooked empire. And my road burned. I let our creations become my life. The truth is, you were always so good at pushing, old friend. Pushing me to do the right thing. You should have pushed a little harder.
What the fuck?
Henry, come visit the old workshop. There's something I need to show you.
All right, Joey. I'm here. Let's see if we can find what you wanted me to see.
That was it? Like, really? The whole story is just a Groundhog's Day loop for whatever reason that is. I just... Guys, I'm sorry. I don't know what to say. I'm really sorry if this whole review was just me bitching so much about everything about this game. But, and honestly, it just comes from me being just really disappointed. I'm just really disappointed in this whole experience. The overall experience of the story is just not good. Better yet, nothing about this game is. It was trying much too hard to be this mysterious, cultish, I don't even know what you want to call it. But it ended up being nothing more than a forced symbolistic mystery that tried to explain nothing, and the gameplay didn't even try to amuse anyone.
I think you said it best that Bendy was a great idea, but terribly executed. I do not hate this game simply because of the ideal of it, not just the terrible experience of it. I hate it because of how wasted it is. So much potential and so much opportunity shot dead in the face. All of us wanted to love Bendy unconditionally with how iconic he is with the 1930s style. But it is entirely impossible to do so when a character like him is an empty shell of a man. So much for having charm.
I am more disappointed that they did not do much with the ink.
What is with you and the ink?
I do not know, darling. The ink just fascinates me.
Agreed. There's just not enough ink to satisfy all of us, but it's time we wrap up this whole boring adventure with Bendy and talk about the game as a whole. Listen, you guys already know that I don't like having to bash games or talk negatively about anything, but I gotta be honest, as a reviewer, whenever I come on this channel, and God knows my friends who are probably watching this are gonna be so surprised about this review. In these final moments of the review of Bendy, I want to be completely fair with this final speech. In my honest opinion of all this, I'm just sincerely disappointed with it, more than anything.
But your disappointment will not compare to the people who paid endless amounts of money towards this. Was there not a guy who paid shit tons of money for Chapter 5 and got screwed over? My apologies for forgetting the person, but it was someone on YouTube, I believe.
Yeah, it was definitely some guy on YouTube. I forget the username. I'm so sorry. I should really be on top of this stuff, but I just forget. who also made a review on Bendy saying that it was a disappointment. I remember slightly seeing something of the video, but nothing too much of it. Another thing that's pretty messed up was that there was a video talking about how the Meatly and some guy named Mike, we all forget his fucking name, I know I do. From what I've seen from the comment section of that video, because I just didn't have the time to watch it since I was at work, it sounds like they rushed into an opening. It just seems like the Meatly and his partner just really rushed into opening up a huge company, only to result in laying off 50 people. Like, I just can't imagine how devastating that is.
Sigh. It is not surprising that their company crashed and burned alive. I can only imagine just how shitty it was working for a company with no real professional experience. These young game developers need to properly learn the ropes before just going head on into battle.
Exactly, and I know it sounds so harsh for us to say this stuff, and it's nothing personal by any means necessary. Listen, I think all of us fuck up badly when we first start out with something that we're not used to, and that's with anything. I mean, it's only human nature. And I'm not gonna say I was perfect when I first started this channel. I was pretty dumb when I first started out, and I ended up deleting that first video because it was terrible. Yeah, it was pretty harsh and pretty awful, but it was what it was, right? I mean, I started out being brainwashed by mediocrity as well, but I gotta be honest when I say that it seems to me that, you know, as a person who wants to become a video game developer and is trying to self-teach herself this stuff, it just seems like these indie devs are just so fucking dumb. Because is it just me, or is it like I'm just noticing something? I'm starting to notice a rhythm with all of these mediocre games. All of them have the same lack of development. All the stories try to force in some fake symbolism that means nothing. Characters have no real reason for any sympathy for them, or no real hatred for them either. Like they're just there. They all tried way too hard to look absolutely beautiful in art style, but ended up looking very shallow in personality. Kind of like when you're meeting a gorgeous model in real life. Like they look gorgeous as hell, beautiful, but when you get to know them as a person, boy are they just really boring and bland and have no real personality. Like, you had House of Velez and Great Prosperity, which of course I'm not excusing Lady Lamb for being over the top with her comment, and, you know, my looking back video, and of course, graphics don't make a better game, Lady Lamb, no offense. But it's not like she was wrong with what she was saying, though. It was a game that really was focusing too much on death scenes. It just seems like House of Velez, alongside with Great Prosperity, paid more attention to detail to the wrong areas. It chose to give more care to gory death scenes over making sure the story and the gameplay was great. Remothered Tormented Fathers, in my honest opinion, looked beautiful, and yet it was such a meh experience. It doesn't mean it was a terrible game, it just means that it's kind of like going to a diner, and you order this steak. It's cooked very well, but god damn is it bland. So the whole experience is just like, meh. Then there was Demon Phobia. Mind you, I wasn't offended by this in any way, shape, or form by the protagonist being 14 years old. Seriously, I've seen worse shit than that. Trust me, you don't want to fucking know. But what really bothered me the most about this game was how shitty it was. Like, dear god, that experience was just god-awful. All of these games had great ideals but ended up being wasted potential, and therefore so many indie devs and our shit entertainment of society ends up being terrible. It's almost as if these people who make these games care, but they just don't care enough. I mean, I always believe that hard work will prevail over skill any day. I mean, just take a look at Day Shift at Freddy's. I mean, sure, it's only a fan game that's supposed to be a parody of Five Nights at Freddy's, but even if you did combine House of Velez, Great Prosperity, Demon Phobia, these games could never come close to the charming replayable experience that Day Shift at Freddy's gives people. Like, I swear, you can just feel the absolute love in that game. The Red Doggo did a really amazing job on that trilogy. Look, what I'm saying is, if you compared it to Bendy, there's a completely different feeling. Right, listen, I'm so sorry for rambling on in that moment, but $20 for Bendy is just not worth it at all. Even for the Christmas sale price at $3.99, it still isn't worth it. The game has no value whatsoever. The entire experience just feels like there was just no love put into it. And even still, I'm baffled at just how many people just love this game. Right, and some people just don't understand that, like, you know, sometimes it's not even about money. It's about the, you know, is it worth my time playing this game? That's kind of what happened with House of Velez. I mean, just because it's cheap doesn't mean that, you know, it's a good game and that it's worth my time. Hell, some people don't even give a shit about, like, the money part. Like, people are willing to spend more money for something that's good, And hell, they'll be okay with paying something that's cheaper, but what it comes down to, is it valuable and worth our time? And it's just like, the biggest problems with this game is just damn near everything. The gameplay wasn't good, it needed more added to it, and it didn't even feel like a complete game. The combat just needs way more fine-tuning, and the story, don't even get me started on that one. But that's just my point. There was no value in anything. Nothing was worth my time or anybody else's time. But I'm pretty sure I covered just about everything about this game, so that's all I gotta say. I mean, maybe the creator did care in some ways, but it just feels like that there was no development or hard work was even put into anything the story had to offer or anything. Everything just felt like it had no care, that everything was just put there and that was it. But if you are asking what the best thing is about this game, I say the art style, ideas, concepts, design, etc. were probably the only good thing about this game. Hell, it wouldn't even surprise me if most Bendy fans just watched this game on YouTube by some famous Let's Players. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if they did, and it just immediately started praising the game solely because it looked cool. I mean, does anybody even remember the game Hello Neighbor by any chance, or Undertale? Remember how many people were just actually watching that? But whatever. Watching a game is definitely not the same as actually playing it. Originally, I wanted to give this game a bronze medal, but after really playing it, I just found that it was more of a stone medal worthy than anything. I would have been more than happy to have given this game an average rating, if only if it wasn't so damn boring. And what makes this so freaking hilarious is that I absolutely love how you can't go around searching Bendy in the Ink Machine without seeing a damn near perfect rating of 4.5 out of 5, or Steam's dumbass incompetent gamers who somehow rated it 9 out of 10. Like, 9 out of 10 my ass. If anything, I'm giving this game a 3 out of 10, which is a stone medal, and exactly what this game deserves. And yes, Bendy fan people, I know you get a magnifying glass at the end of chapter 5 to use in previous chapters. Listen, if I'm already not captivated by my first 10 minutes of playing your game, let alone a whole playthrough, then why the hell would I even be concerned enough to play it again, or even feel justified paying $20 and wasting my time on it? Hell, I also seen on YouTube that there was another Bendy trailer for 2020. I mean, I'm not sure how many people really give a shit about that though. But for anybody who is curious about playing this game, buy it now. Seriously, it's only $3.99 on Steam due to the Christmas discount. This discount will end on January 2nd, which is tomorrow. So if you really want to see if you like this game or not, go right ahead, knock yourself the fuck out. Or if you just, you could just not support the creator by not buying this mediocre game. It's not shit metal worthy, but it's definitely stone metal worthy all the way. The choice is yours, so don't let me hinder you from something you might actually enjoy. But I do think this concludes our review of Bendy and the Ink Machine. Maybe some of you guys can shed some light on Bendy with your opinions. Honestly, I can't be the only one feeling the way I do about Bendy, and hopefully you guys can come out and say what you really think about it. Did you like it? Did you hate it? But come out and say it. But like I said, don't be afraid to share your honest thoughts in the comment section down below. For any fan people, please don't come down here bitching at me. Trust me, I understand what it's like to love a game. Like, I love Primal dearly, but even I wouldn't go around praising it like it's just damn near perfection. It's just not realistic, guys, okay? Come on, we're better than this. Plus, I think it's fair to say that Bendy could have been good if it had a lot more work put into it. But I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a wonderful new year and enjoy the new year of 2020. And let's just all hope there are many good things to come in that year. So, we hope you all enjoyed this video. Merry Christmas and have a happy new year.